looking at you kids.
You had me at hello.
I wish I knew how to quit you.
This seems so simple.
There's no place like home.
I'm gonna make him an offer down with you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, to the next exciting, the 89th episode of Gone with the Wind, the show about award shows where we talk about, you guessed it, award shows. I'm your host, Manning Franks, here with an esteemed panel, our regular panelists. We have Malcolm.
Hello.
We have Dan.
Hey, how's it going? Glad I'm back, and glad we're doing our show this week. I know everybody's had kind of a struggle this week, and just glad we're able to do a show this week, Manning.
Oh yeah, no. As we know, this is not the day we usually do this. This is probably going to go up on a Thursday. Usually go up on Tuesday. This is a Thursday when it goes up because it has been a nonstop, how do they say, balls to the wall type of week for me because I work in news and we've had a snowstorm. Snowstorm Izzy, as the Weather Channel has been calling it, and it has been 12-hour shifts. And not this past day, thankfully. So squeezing it in when we can. So I'm just kind of happy we were able to do it. And as you can see, I look like the specter of death. Remember the seventh seal? What is that death? I'm pretty sure that's death, right?
Max von Sydow.
Thank you. Oh, that's Max von. Oh, you're right. Why did you unlock something in my brain? That's what I feel like.
Or Ian McKellen in The Last Action Hero.
Yeah, good point.
Yes. Regardless, that's how I feel. That's how I look right now. So I'm gonna muster my way up through this as best I can. But no, it's great to be able to have a schedule. We have some great things to talk about, some really exciting things. We got SAG last week, which you can see our reaction here on the Take 3 Productions channel, which was, wow, that was an absolute doozy. And before we really get into that, actually, and we're also going to talk about BAFTA Longlists as well, and then kind of giving our thoughts on the possibility of PGA nominations, because those are next week, ladies and gentlemen. So get it ready and get excited for that. But quickly, SAG. Ladies and gentlemen, SAG had their nominations recently come out, and I want to, before we quickly get into them once again, besides our reactions, Malcolm, you weren't there for the reaction, but you obviously got to see the SAG nominations. What were your ultimate thoughts on the nominations that we had for the film side of things?
I mean, on the film side of things, like, there's a couple of cases in which I was surprised about, but there's also,
of course,
like, it's a really cool nomination that I didn't expect. So I mean, there's some surprises. Like, it's one of those ones. Like, there's definitely a couple which I'm looking at, which because I changed my prediction on Gold Derby for the Oscars due to what happened at the SAGs. Like, there's a couple there that I looked at. It's like, well, that person could miss out on the Oscar because because I don't know when the last time the exact SAG 5 was the exact ones at the Oscars, because there's normally at least one or two in a couple of the categories that end up getting bumped out for something else.
Mm-hmm. No, that's a good point. And this point, it's just a kind of it's a thing of numbers right now, where we kind of try to figure out, okay, what could this miss? What could miss there? What could miss that? Were there any things in particular that stood out to you personally that you were like, oh, wow, that's a great addition, or wow, I can't believe that one missed? I mean, the big one obviously is K-Stew for Spencer, but besides that one, which one did you feel like was a big shocker, some of those snubs that you wish made it in?
Funny enough, on the movie side, there wasn't really a lot. Like, Spencer was probably the big glaring one, but a lot of the ones was like, I can probably understand why they didn't get in, like, especially like West Side Story not getting into an ensemble because like, well, Ansel Elgort sort of dragged that all out. But I mean, for me, one of the biggest sort of subs literally on the TV side, and I'm only going to mention this briefly, but
okay.
But Selena Gomez were only Murders in the Building. Like, who Steve and Martin both got nominated, but Selena was the only one that missed. And that surprised me a lot.
I guess this shows how beloved they are in comparison. She still apparently has to work her way up in the TV side of things, but I don't know. Wizards of Waverly Place was a thing, guys. Poor comparison, but here we are. But Dan, we've had some time to mull over the SAG nominations. So again, I'm going to read them out in full for everybody. So And these are all movies, just as a heads up. So, outstanding performance by a stunt ensemble in a motion picture: Black Widow, Dune, The Matrix Resurrections, No Time to Die, Shang-Chi, and The Legend of the Ten Rings. Best performance by a female actor in a supporting role: Katrina Balfe, Belfast; Kate Blanchett, Nightmare Alley; Ariana DeBose, West Side Story; Kirsten Dunst, Power of the Dog; Ruth Negga, Passing. Outstanding performance by a male actor in a supporting role: Ben Affleck, The Tinder Bar; Bradley Cooper, Licorice Pizza; Troy Kotzer, Coda; Jared Leto, House of Gucci; Cody Smith McPhee, Power of the Dog. Which, by the way, Ben Affleck, then The Tinder Bar, very good, very tender, for lack of a better term. Not meaning that in any joking way. He's very good. Outstanding performance by a female actor in a leading role: Jessica Chastain, Eyes of Tammy Faye; Olivia Colman, The Lost Daughter; Lady Gaga, House of Gucci; Jennifer Hudson, Respect; Nicole Kidman, Being the Ricardos. Outstanding performance by a male actor in a leading role: Javier Bardem, Being the Ricardos; Benedict Cumberbatch, The Power of the Dog; Andrew Garfield, Tick Tick Boom; Will Smith, King Richard; Denzel Washington, The Tragedy of Macbeth. And finally, outstanding performance by a cast in a motion picture: Belfast, Coda, Don't Look Up, House of Gucci, and then King Richard. So, Dan, now that we've got to mull over these things, and those are a quick recap and brief debriefing of what we had so far, now that you've got to sit on it for a little bit, kind of tell me, what are your thoughts now that SAG has run its course when it comes to the nominations for this past year?
Well, the thing is, Cyrano pushed back their release to like the end of February. Actually, this coming week, I should be I have an automatic thing for my review, so it should be popping up on Friday, my review of Cyrano. But so my only thing is that maybe people that were getting screeners did not get screeners of Cyrano, and that's why Peter Dinklage did not get into Best Actor, and somebody else got in there as in place of Peter Dinklage. Now, Ingenue Ellis, there's no excuse, in my opinion. Her movie,
it is weird because she made it. King Richard made it into Ensemble.
Yeah, it made it in an Ensemble. Her movie came out back in November. It had a 30 whatever day run on HBO Max. It's a movie that's everybody had an opportunity to see, including the actors. Now, there's only 2,500 actors that vote on the movie side, 2,500 actors that vote on the TV side, but it is the largest voting body. I just can't understand why you would put, I mean, and I love Kate Blanchett. I think she deserved to be in there for Nightmare Alley. That's my opinion, but whoever, I mean, you just can't, there's two unexcusable absences, and one of them is Ingenue Ellis. I think especially that moment where she really gives it to Richard.
Very satisfying.
In the middle of the movie. But she's doing a lot of little things in the movie around the kids and around the house and around. So I feel like she deserved it. I mean, I don't know how you could make an argument for anybody else that deserves it over her, in my opinion. And then, of course, I think she's going to get nominated, and she's got a legitimate shot of winning the Academy Award, and that's Kristen Stewart. I mean, what more do they want her to do in this role? Yes, is the story a real story? Is it a fictionalized story of a weekend around? Sure it is, but she does everything she possibly can do with this character and this role. Given the costumes, given the cinematography, the things that go along with all that, it all plays in. And I just don't understand how you could. I am not that enamored with Olivia Colman. Is she a great actress? Has she won an Academy Award? Yes to both of those. But I really think Jennifer Hudson deserved it. I think what Jennifer Hudson did in Respect was worthy of being nominated. So I was glad to see her in there. I think some of these West Side Story people just aren't that good. And I also don't think that, you can't really say that some of these people are better than Kristen Stewart. I mean, I think now you're looking at this category and say Jessica Chastain's the front runner. I mean, a lot of people are saying,
Are you sure it's not Nicole Kidman?
Yeah, a lot of people are saying Nicole Kidman, but I think Nicole Kidman was great in Being the Crowd. It's one of my favorite movies of the year. But I really, honestly, and I heard an argument. I was watching, for your consideration, another awards show with my friends Jeff Snyder, Kari Nemiroff, and Scott Mantz, and somebody made a comment in the comments saying that Kristen Stewart, it was a bad movie. Oh, and Jessica Chastain was in makeup. Jessica Chastain was in makeup, and she was hiding about. What are you talking about? Gary Oldman was completely covered up as Winston Churchill. Charlize Theron completely covered up as Eileen Wuornos. They absolutely eat up people that take these risks by putting the makeup on, putting the mask on, and they're, she should have had a fat suit. She shouldn't have gained weight. What are you talking about? That has nothing to do. She gave a great performance. It doesn't matter what makeup she had on, if she had a fat suit, she didn't have a fat suit. She gave a great performance, Jessica Chastain does. And if Kristen Stewart's not in the category, to me, Jessica Chastain should win this category. And I'm sticking by that.
No, I think she should, but I still think Nicole Kidman is by far in the way. 2 words: BAFTA Longlists. And what I mean by that is, if you look at the BAFTA Longlist, Spencer didn't do great. Eyes of Tammy Faye didn't do great. House of Gucci did good, but we'll get into that in a second. Being the Ricardos did exceedingly well. And also, 2 other words: Javier Bardem.
He got in because of Peter Dinklage didn't get in. So they had to put somebody in place of Peter Dinklage.
Well, that's the thing. I think they love Nicole Kidman so much that they were like, oh, Javier Bardem. Oh, wait, Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz. Let's give them both. And I think the narrative works for itself, because if I thought they loved Dinklage, but if you also look at how Cyrano didn't really do that great on the long list, I think it's just coming out too late, and but it also premiered really early. It's just kind of like, it's not doing really what it needed to do. I feel like it's premiering up in some places here and there, obviously where it needs to, like actor, best British film, but it didn't even premiere up in some things that it really needed to, outside of costuming and not even production design. But it didn't have that oomph at the SAGs. And I think it was one of the first ones, if I'm not mistaken. And perhaps that was Mass was the first one, and that also didn't do well. So maybe there is this sweet spot that you need to find where you're not too late, not too early, and the short attention span of the SAG voters may turn into a factor for that. I don't know, but I see Nicole Kidman as the front runner based solely upon the fact of you see how other stuff is doing well. I wish I'm wrong, because I don't think she did the best thing in the world. Go ahead, Malcolm.
Yeah. No, what I was about to say is talking about Cyrano. I mean, I don't know if this is the legit reason, but I think there's a slight chance people are going, well, Peter Dinklage played the role on stage as well, so he's just doing exactly the same thing he did on stage. It's nothing different to and that could be part of the reason why he might have been overlooked, because he played that exact same role in the stage version of Cyrano. Whether or not that played into it, I don't know. I'm only speculating myself.
Of course.
But I can't remember who. But in saying that, I'm kind of happy as well, because I think it was me and Abe that had Jennifer Hudson. I can't remember.
Dan had her too.
Oh,
I was
Dan.
the one person without Jennifer Hudson, so that was on me.
For an actress and for an actor.
Yeah. Also, that being said, was I the only one that had Ruth Negga though, wasn't?
No, you're right, but I switched. If you go to my Gold Derby, I switched it last bit because you convinced me. I was like, no, you know what, this is probably right. So that was a good call.
But did I not make that?
So happy
they could make up for not having her in Loving that one year, and they would have her in passing. And what happened? Boom,
Yeah.
they had her in passing.
But yeah, it's just one of those ones. Like I think Kristen Stewart still has a chance. Like when I sort of mentioned I changed my Goldie based on this sort of. I can't remember who I've got, but Kristen Stewart at the moment is sitting at my 5 because I think for actress, there is really this whole because I think she is the 6. I think any of these 5 or Kristen Stewart could get in. Rachel Ziegler, I think's got a bigger hill to climb just because it is her first performance. But in saying that, the Academy might get her in because they like first performances. Because what's her name for the United States versus Billie Holiday?
Oh,
Because that
Anja
was
Beck.
her first. Yes, that was her first performance, and she got in. So I think there probably is a good chance Rachel Ziegler might get in for that reason too. But in saying that, I do not know who would be left out because it's really hard. I think actress is really a 7-horse race. I think any of those 5 I'd actually be happy with. Something else. I did actually quickly look up. Chris Stewart's actually never been nominated for a SAG as a
No.
single actress. Like the only nomination you could argue she did was Into the Wild. When Into the Wild was nominated for cast, but that's her only nomination. Because I thought she got nominated for SAG for the Clouds of Silmarina or something.
Those
that
Maria.
but she wasn't. So
No.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's kind of this whole she still needs to get her dues in Hollywood thing maybe going on with some of these actors that aren't voting for her.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, and actually, the other one that I was actually going to bring up is Anjanou Alice, and I think like part of the reason she might have been overlooked for SAG was once again like she is relatively a newcomer to this, and I think it was a case of it was either going to be her or Belford, which was going to be the relative newcomer that gets into this category. So I think it's just a case that I think that is part of the reason she might have been overlooked too.
Well, they
Or-
saw her. She was already. I think. Don't quote me on this, but I think she was in Lovecraft Country, and Lovecraft Country did great at the Emmys and in various award shows previously to this, so they know her. You know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that being said, I mean, once again, TV movies are different mediums. I think it's just one of those things. I wasn't trying to say they didn't know her. I think because I don't know if she had any other movie roles before this, but this could be like her first major one. So.
Well, that's why I thought, okay, well, they already know Peter Dinklage. He's already won SAG awards. This is going to be a no-brainer for him to get in because they already have a love of him and his work. But that was the TV side. I guess there is a difference between the TV side and the
No, that's a
movie
great
side.
point, Malcolm.
You have to remember that in the future.
Yeah, that's a great point because Dinklage also missed Anjanou Ellis, who was also big in TV, especially with, as you mentioned, Dan, Lovecraft Country last year, who she gave a great performance in that. Both of them are TV actors are known for their TV roles before their movie roles, and maybe that transpired into it. But let's not forget also this is the first year that they kind of expanded SAG, meaning influencers could get in and other types of people who could get their SAG card could get in. So I don't know. Yeah, voting. I'm not saying that is the cause of why someone like Stewart missed, because it may or may not be it may or may not be just the fact of that she hasn't earned her dues yet, quote unquote. That may not be the case. I think of more of the case perhaps that Spencer is a very divisive film, and the fact that you look at that audience score, it is very low. And remember, the industry is not critics, and while critics are going, for lack of a better term, gaga over Spencer, I think the industry is turning a cold shoulder, while being the Ricardos is being embraced by the industry, but not so much by the critics. I think maybe it's just different medium, perhaps.
We talked about this, Manny, and you make a very valid point. Shows about entertainment, movies about entertainment do very, very well with actors and the Academy as a whole because it's about the movie industry. and it's about the industry as a whole.
Correct.
So a beloved show like I Love Lucy is a movie about a beloved show in the inside baseball of a TV show and where she had to do all the struggles that Lucille Ball had to deal with her husband, with the red scare going on, the various topics that are on the show. So those are some really good topics within the movie. Maybe that's something that they thought, oh well, Nicole Kidman just blew that out of the park, and maybe she is the front runner, like you said. Who knows? I mean, I still think Will Smith is the front runner and an actor, even though Benedict Cumberbatch has been winning some stuff, was coming out of the woodwork and starting to win some stuff. But with Javier Bardem in there, who knows? Like you said, they might just love that movie so much that Javier Bardem wins that thing.
I've officially taken out Bardem. I mean, I've officially taken out Dinklage, and I've put Bardem in. So
You haven't changed my Oscar.
Yeah.
I'm gonna wait. I think a little bit more.
Smart.
If something else, maybe there's some other awards that get some things pop up here. I might change it. I'm not just jumping on and changing Dinklage just yet.
One thing I do want to throw out there is this the end of the road for Cooper in lead, because he seems to be popping up more in supporting now. So
Yeah, I thought he was the lead, but I guess they're saying he's supporting to Alana Haim, who's the lead.
no, I think. Wait, where
Well, they're
where did you
both-
see
I was
that?
talking about Cooper for lead in Nightmare Alley.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You mean
Oh,
Bradley Cooper,
Bradley
not
Because he
Cooper.
got
Oh, Bradley
supporting for Licorice Pizza.
No, I would not. Don't count him out, Malcolm. I would say it's a 3-horse race between him, Dinklage, and Javier Bardem right now for that last spot in Best Actor. I think Garfield, Smith, Washington, who else? Oh, Cumberbatch are the 4.
Yes.
It's
yes.
that last spot. It could be anybody's. It could be Cooper, it could be Bardem, or it could be Dinklage. Don't count out Cooper for that. I mean, see him getting nominated for this role in the Oscars. This Licorice Pizza role. I just do not see it, Malcolm. I think it was just one of those. They wanted to throw him a bone, and they couldn't put him in Best Actor, so they put him in Best Supporting Actor for that. Same thing with Kate Blanchett, because she's got 2 roles, one in Don't Look Up and one in Nightmare Alley. So they threw her a bone for that. I mean,
Which, speaking of Kate Blanchett, she made it into supporting actress for Don't Look Up, not Nightmare Alley, which I find to be the most bizarre thing. And we'll get into
Nightmare Alley. I love her.
Well, but she missed it. But she missed that in the BAFTA Longlist, and she got in for Don't Look Up for some bizarre reason.
She's playing a drunken newscaster. Maybe you have some information on drunken newscasters, Malcolm.
No, I mean Kate Blanchett
not.
was Nightmare Alley for the SAGs.
No, for BAFTA Longlist, excuse me, for BAFTA Longlist. Like she did not, Nightmare Alley did not get that, which I'll go into BAFTA Longlist in a sec, but from what I will add upon there, I think we have counted out Cooper, like when people started to see him, they were like, oh, listen, we're going to supporting actor for a second. They were thinking, oh, hey, he's too small to get a nomination, blah, blah, blah. But here we are. He's gotten the SAG out of nowhere. I do not believe he got a Critics' Choice. Correct me if I'm wrong. But he managed to make it on here, meaning the actors love Bradley Cooper. I don't think he's going to make it in for BAFTA, but depending on how much they love Licorice Pizza, I don't know. He could make it into as a supporting feat, because if you look at the long list for supporting actor for BAFTA, Affleck is not on there.
That's
so
ridiculous.
Which the Tinder Bar did not make it anywhere. I think that's a very American film, and I don't think it really translated to BAFTA, perhaps. But Malcolm, what were you going to say?
Oh, I was about to say it. I actually think like supporting actor. I think it's one of those ones. I'll be happy if any 5 that get nominated at the Oscars. I think this is one of those races where you can put any 5 in, and they're going to be good. I think this is one. I think we said last time, I think Cody Smith McPhee is the only kind one you could kind of say is a lock. I think the other 4 spots are up for grabs for anyone. And I mean, it's one of those ones because I know a lot of people were saying, "Oh yeah, Bradley Cooper and Lucas Pizza is only a small role. He doesn't deserve to be nominated." I was like, I mean, look
They
at how
like
many
him.
times people have been nominated for small roles and other ones. I mean, you've got Judi Dench,
Yeah, the biggest
Anthony
one.
Hopkins.
She won an
like,
Oscar.
The Belfast boys got in, so you don't know.
Yeah.
I think they have a
Yeah.
better shot. Are they on the list for BAFTA?
Yes, both of them made it to the list
They-
for long list
I
for
think they
BAFTA.
got a better shot of making in that category for BAFTA than they do, because I think Belfast is going to do very well for BAFTA.
Yes.
well,
Which
I mean,
will add.
Belfast is a very British movie, so
Yes, it is a very British movie. Wait, and let me guess. It was nominated for
Irish.
Best British Film. Am I right? Is this yes?
yeah.
Of course. I wanted to make sure because part of me was like, what if it wasn't? That'd be kind of hilarious. But of course it
Yeah, I
is.
think Belfast is going to do very well for BAFTA.
But then I'll bring up to the idea of Belfast. People consider Belfast has been the quote unquote front runner for a long time because it's kind of been the default with Power of the Dog nipping at its heels, and we can get into that discussion a little bit later. But you look at the Belfast boys, both of them missing for supporting actor, which again, I think when I've looked back about 2 different, I do not have them both in at this point. At this point, Kieran Hines is the only Belfast representation I have out of the 2. I took out Jamie Dornan. I forgot which one of y'all mentioned it about how there's a possibility if anyone gets in, it's Kieran Hines, not Dornan. Do you all remember who said that on the last episode?
I mean, I think I might have said it. It was either that or Jeff that was in the chat probably said it.
Okay, yeah, you're right, Infinite Jeff. I'm trying to recall precisely. I'm just trying to recall precisely when that was mentioned, but Kieran Hines, I think, could ultimately make it in the end. But I think Jamie Dornan, because every time that someone else is brought in there, for instance, you look back at the Favorite Ladies or the 3 Billboards Men, like someone else brought them in because, in this case, Olivia Colman, and when her performance was bringing in her 2 supporting actors, or in this case, Sam Rockwell was bringing in Woody Harrelson. I think that because there's no lock, there's no one where it's just like, yes, this is the winner. I think they're going to cancel each other out at the end of the day, which I think SAG kind of proved that to us.
Well, I will tell you this. I saw Belfast again last night, for Variety Screening Room. And I mean, Jamie Dornan has a bigger role than I thought he had. But everybody remembers him singing the song near the
Everlasting
end.
Love. Yep.
Everlasting Love. And that is the song, that is the moment that's going to get him the most love. But like, Kieran Hines has a lot of little moments where he's giving advice to Jude Hill and stuff like that. And I think all these little nuggets that he gives, all these little things. Same thing with Ben Affleck. You know, I mean, I thought Ben Affleck really did a great job in that movie. But I think Ben Affleck, obviously, he's not on the list, so forget about him there. But I think, yeah, you can count one of these. I mean, if Cody Smith McPhee has a contender, somebody that could knock him out, it could be one of those 2 guys.
No, I think you mentioned that counted Affleck out. I don't think I'm not going to count Affleck out just yet because I think he's a very well respected. Yeah, for an Oscar nomination, not a win. He's not winning, but a nomination. I think that could elevate him to like just the fact that he's been in the conversation for this and The Last Duel, and he made it in for Tinder Bar.
Yeah.
Maybe
I mean, and honestly, and I really hate going career Oscars at this point, but I wouldn't be surprised if Affleck gets in because they're like, we feel bad for not getting him in last year for the way back, so let's just get him in now.
You've done good work, Affleck. Here's a nomination.
But remember, they did screw him over for Argo for Best Director, and everybody and their brother had him. He won like all the precursors for Best Director. He didn't even get in Best Director for Argo, so they've screwed him over in the past. But he's also won in the past.
In saying that, Argo did win Best Picture, so that was kind of backfire. He's still
technically
producer on it. He's a producer on it.
Technically, yeah. Now looking also at SAG, and one thing I'll say is we mentioned like for Best Ensemble, you have some of the ones we all expected, but there is one that did ultimately the best, and it had the best day, Everyone else kind of did fine, but the one that tied for 3 nominations, including Ensemble, House of Gucci.
Yeah.
House of Gucci also did, and this is when I'm going to start transitioning into the BAFTA Longlists. House of Gucci did incredibly well at the BAFTA Longlist, and it did incredibly well at SAG. Like, I'm trying to recall how many that it got nominated for, but let me see. But like House of Gucci just did banger on the BAFTA long list. And the fact that it made it for Jared Leto, Lady Gaga, and Ensemble, it shows there is passion by the actors branch for House of Gucci, and that could elevate it. I mean, it made it to the long list for cinematography, House of Gucci. It's a fine looking film. There's nothing spectacular about that cinematography whatsoever. It's fine, and it made it in. There is love for House of Gucci, and guys, I think I have right now. It's my number 10. Like, it's my number 10 right now. House of Gucci just had some life breathed back into it. We're living in that world right now.
Yeah, I mean, in saying that, like, with the SAGs, like, and I mean, like, as I said, like, last one for the SAG predictions, like, for me, Ensemble is not so much like the amount of people; it's the amount of big name people in the movie, and House of Gucci does have a lot of them. So, which is why I wasn't surprised to see that up there. I mean, just for that same reason, like King Richard, I was a little bit surprised to see that because, like, there was a few big names there, not saying, but there was just a smaller amount of people compared to the other ones.
Well,
Not saying it's bad. Not saying it's bad.
I would say look back at do these people have nominations? Have they won a SAG? Jeremy Irons, Al Pacino, Jared Leto, Will Smith, John Bernthal, what's his name? The first coach in the first coach.
Tony Goldwyn.
Him. Some of these people, have they been nominated as a SAG before? Have they won before? So you got to look at things like that. Then obviously the massive cast with some smaller name people that probably have never been nominated for a SAG in Don't Look Up, like Rob Morgan. Some of those type of people that this is like a career achievement type of thing for them to get in with the Meryl Streeps, the Jennifer Lawrence, the Leonardo DiCaprio, the Tyler Perrys, the Kate Blanchetts, the Jonah Hills, the Timothy Chalamets, So there are some people you got to look back and say, okay, have these people been? And they have the actors know these things. They know the people that have won, the people that have been nominated, because in the back of they know who they know in the industry, who they work with, who they, and so there's little things inside baseball, things within the actors branch that maybe they know that they want to reward some things, and that's how it goes that way,
No, and I think you look at the sheer size of a cast like Don't Look Up. There's always that one every year that's just a massive cast, and I think it was always going to be making it in at the end of the day. The thing that really surprised me was, I guess House of Gucci surprised me because I thought House of Gucci was kind of bleeding out. Like, Don't Look Up still had, at that time, it still has, even right now, it still has like this kind of cultural zeitgeist of the moment. Like, people were talking about it all over Twitter. I heard people talking about it in real life. It got traction because of the controversy surrounding it. And even though it's a very poorly reviewed film, in comparison, I will say, in comparison to some other films out there, it's still probably going to make it into Best Picture, mainly because the industry love is like, yes, this is great. They're looking at the message and not the quality of the film as a quote unquote drama. But that's another discussion for another day.
I just thought they would go for the bigger casts. That's not to interrupt you there.
No, I agree.
Nightmare Alley, Dune might have a chance in this, so they would go for the bigger cast, but they went for the smaller cast, except for Don't Look Up.
Yeah, Don't Look Up was the outlier because of just how massive that entire thing was. I kind of knew Belfast. We kind of expected Belfast to be to show up there. And I feel like Coda was that small one that was like, it's going to make it in, like, because it's kind of the indie film. Like, even last year, like 2 years ago, when Parasite made it in. Like there is this one that has some industry love. And I just think King Richard also kind of made it in there based upon the fact of like Will Smith bringing in some of those other performances. But I think Ellis missing kind of cemented the fact that it's not as universally beloved. I still think Ellis makes it in at the end of the day for the Oscar 5, but
I hope
obviously
so.
obviously we're gonna have to wait to find out. But right now, I'm curious if y'all had to pick who was winning SAG, who's winning SAG, like for who's winning SAG for Ensemble. Because I don't know who to pick for number one right now. Because it could be Belfast because it's the quote unquote front runner. But I'm like, what if it was something like Coda, like something small but like has a lot of passion? That'd be a really cool win.
That if you look at some of the actors that are in there in Coda that are in that ensemble, Marlene Matlin, Troy Kotsur, Eugenio Derbez. This guy's been around a while, and he's he's a Latino actor. And then you got the newbies, but also it's a movie about deaf people. Maybe they want to champion deaf actors or disability of being deaf, and we're gonna champion Coda in that way. Like they wanted to champion that year Parasite to show people that foreign films can win awards in America. They can be championed by the actors and the various branches throughout Hollywood. Just because there's subtitles doesn't mean it's bad. And I've been championing about 4 or 5 foreign films this year. You know me.
You have.
So maybe this is their year to say, you know what, we're going to champion this little movie about deaf people and show that.
When does the SAG winners get announced in relation to when the Oscar nominations start?
That's a great question. Geez, I don't. I will find that out. Here we go. The show will simulcast live on February 27th on TNT and TBS at 8 p.m. So,
the Oscars are February 4th or 5th or something.
No,
on Thursday,
March.
Right?
They're on March.
So that's when the nominations start.
Oh, the nominations. Yeah. You're right. The nominations will be March. No, February 8th, I believe.
8th, yeah.
I took that day off of work, so it's my holiday.
That's a Thursday or a Tuesday? Because I liked it when it was on a Tuesday. Good.
Tuesday.
The 8th is a Tuesday? Oh, perfect. We can just go live that day.
Yeah.
Can you wake up for that early, Malcolm, to do that?
I've done it before.
He has done it before. He is a trooper for that.
Time, right? But you've done it before.
I mean,
we all should be there for that.
I mean, you assume I woke up. I literally just stayed awake because I was about 2 in the morning. Well, I'm not going to try and go to bed because otherwise I'm not going to wake up.
Oh, okay.
But anyway,
fair.
The reason I actually asked that is, I was going to say that if the SAG was going to be announced before they even started the Oscar nominations, sort of voting and stuff, I probably would have predicted Coda to win Ensemble, so it gets more Oscar eyes on it and get help propel it into that site. But that's not going to work out. That's this time around.
No, I was thinking. That's what I was thinking. You were thinking, Malcolm, but no, it didn't work out that way.
One thing I'll also, as we finish up talking about SAG, is you're right. Coda would be a really cool win because it's a movie that shines a light upon an underrepresented group, and it's just also a really solid film. And considering it's gotten buzz, it still had buzz since Sundance of this last year, which again, we're seeing Sundance. It's almost been a whole year. It's been in the conversation. So that's just kind of really cool. It's a little movie. Coda is the little movie that could, and that'd be kind of cool for indie films if that was to get it in over something like a House of Gucci.
Yeah. I mean, the one I'm scared that will win is Don't Look Up.
Well, it's
the biggest cast, and I'm scared that it's going to win because of that fact.
Yep,
you're right.
They sometimes go with the big cast.
They do. They absolutely do.
Huge heavy hitters in there.
Now, go ahead. It's going to add anything?
I was about to say there's huge heavy hitters in House Gucci too, but
yes, there are. And speaking of House of Gucci, House of Gucci got the most. I think it got one of the most. It got a whopping like round one. Wait, round two. Okay, so this is from Deadline. No, correct. I'm looking at this right now. BAFTA has unveiled the long list across all categories for its 2022 Film Awards. Scroll down and see the full blah, blah, blah. These lists have been compiled via round one of BAFTA's voting. Round two, which determines the nominations, opens January 14th and closes January 27th. So BAFTA is currently nominating, in the process of nominating, and will close the 27th. The full nominations will be unveiled February 3rd. Round three to determine the winners runs February 9th, March 8th. So the 2022 BAFTA Film Awards takes place March 13th. So we'll get the nominations for February 3rd. So we have a little bit of time still, but we're almost there.
Yeah, we're going to get it a week early from the Oscar nominee, so we'll probably have to do a show that day or week or whatever it is that.
We'll be pushing it back then. But I also want to mention the fact that there was House of Gucci did well, Belfast did well, some Power of the Dog did well. But another film that did very well, No Time to Die. No Time to Die made it to a lot of the long list for BAFTA. And there's been some conversations that I've seen in different punditries that maybe we're looking at the wrong movie. It's not Spider-Man No Way Home that's going to be the quote-unquote box office mainstream popular film. It's No Time to Die, which could propel itself because it is the last Daniel Craig film. It has BAFTA love. It's done really great below the text, if we've seen with the Oscar shortlist, and now with the BAFTA long list, we could see No Time to Die do really well in above the line categories, mainly picture, I'll say. But Malcolm, what are your thoughts on No Time to Die and the BAFTA long list?
I mean, I'm not surprised it's a British movie.
Yeah. But they really loved it, though. Like, Ana de Armas made it in for the long list for Best Supporting Actress.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm always wondering why they call them long lists and not short lists.
because they're a long list.
The short list of the nominees.
But anyway, like, I mean, like, no, I'm not surprised. Like, No Time to Die is a good movie. It's and I'm not too surprised that it's getting a lot of love. I mean, just reading the article, I mean, they did kind of say that like Spider-Man No Way Home was kind of not there just because Sony didn't meet some BAFTA deadline for uploading this. So I mean, I think we might. I do still think we might get some love for No Way Home, but I think if No Way Home's going to make a serious push, the PGA it needs to get somewhere in PGA or WGA to give it that kind of little thing for the Oscar voters to kind of look at, to get it in there if they really want Spider-Man No Way Home to make it.
Dan,
well, usually what happens, Malcolm, is all these guys go ahead of the Oscars, and the voters of the Oscars see what won, what got nominated, what was in the public's consciousness as far as movies go, what's getting like a lot of buzz as far as various criteria, and that's how you'll end up getting some of these oddball movies, like the biggest blockbuster of the year, or the last of a franchise, or some weird thing like that. And No Time to Die is a British film. It's MGM, but it's British. It's about a British character. It's the fifth movie in Daniel Craig's run. He's British. Mm-hmm. All these main actors that are in the franchise are British, except for Rami Malek and Ana de Armas, but she's like from Brazil or something. So that it was going to do good in BAFTA. There's no doubt about that. Belfast was gonna do. What will tell us is how good these films do in the nominees of the Oscars, how good they potentially could do with potential wins. But I think everybody's got No Time to Die and visual effects and whatnot in the Oscars. I mean, I have it in my visual effects right now, so.
And to clarify, Ana de Armas is Cuban, just so we know that.
Right.
And
so Rami Malek's Egyptian.
Oh, there you go. He is he? He's not British though, right?
But he's American. Egyptian. He's American.
Well,
He's
we're looking
American
up
Egyptian.
because I actually think he is British because they did get him to play Freddie Mercury, who is British. So.
Check that right now, because now I'm really curious about what is his citizenship? That's what I'm curious about. Is he British or American? Is he Egyptian American?
I'm looking it up now.
He did
Anyway,
play King Tut in the national or the.
Oh yeah, that's when I first knew about Rami Malek. Anyway, he is not shortlisted. No offense to him, not his performance; it's the character.
Nobody liked him in that.
I think his performance was fine. The character is just not great.
Officially, he is an American actor, is what it says on Wikipedia.
American and Egyptian, or Egyptian American. I'm not sure the correct. Anyway,
Yeah.
So looking at the BAFTA long list, these will be kind of taken a little out, bit by bit, piece by piece, and it's just kind of exciting to see kind of like what the long list kind of shows us. Okay, this is what we're looking at, and I kind of appreciate that, and I kind of wish the Oscars kind of did a long list because it would make our lives as pundits a little bit easier, and it kind of makes the guessing game a little less. I don't know. It's kind of fun and exciting because the way that BAFTA is doing things, right now, what they are doing is they are currently going to be doing for each category, the thing with the 2 highest votes will get in automatically, and then our jury will pool the rest. So it's going to be a really cool way they're going to be going about doing it. So the 2 most populous ones will make it in by default, and then the rest of them will come accordingly, which I think is a really cool, different way to do it. And they kind of did it last year, but they got some feedback, and now they're trying to revamp it a little bit because remember, Carey Mulligan missed out last year, and there was like a big uproar and upcry, like how does she miss? And now they're like, okay, we're going to fix this a little bit. So I like what they're taking.
Yeah.
How do you snub your own British person?
I guess maybe they were like, oh, someone else, she'll get in, someone else will vote her in or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
And there's a thing about the BAFTAs we got to remember. There are distinctly British films. Like last year, we had this film called Rocks. This year, it's what, After Party or After something?
It's After Love and Boiling Point.
Well, those are the 2. So we got to remember. You're like, oh, what's Boiling Point? What's After Love? Trust me, they have distinct films that they're going to put in because they are distinctly British films. You can't count against those films.
Agreed.
For us.
Isn't that Electrical Life of Louis Wain also a British film?
It's Amazon.
Well, I mean, but is that a British? Yeah, it's what
it is It is in the outstanding British film section.
Yeah.
So, fun fact.
But the one thing I do find interesting is the BAFTAs nominated Titan, and it wasn't on the shortlist for the Oscars. So I found that.
Yeah, it's a French film. They probably want to get the French in there. Who knows?
But also, they might have just had. Or I don't think they have the same, because I don't think they have the same like rules that the Oscars has, where it's 1 per country. I don't know if they follow that same rule for BAFTA. Again, I can't confirm that. Wait. The thing that can tell us that is if like. Like Petite Maman and Titan are both French films, so they do not follow that same rule.
Yeah, they are both French. You're right about that.
One thing that you mentioned, Dan. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
What I was going to say is. What I was going to say is that you're right. BAFTA is very British, and while I think you're going to get some things, I think if Denzel can make it in, this is his year for finally getting nominated for a BAFTA for doing something Shakespearean. This is his year to actually get in for a nomination. His first BAFTA nomination, guys. This is it.
Wow! All these years, he's never been nominated for a BAFTA award.
Never.
Never.
Glaring.
Yeah, that's a glaring omission.
Very glaring. But what I will add as well, unless Malcolm, you were going to say something.
The one thing I was going to say is I'm looking down here. Passing did really well.
Did it?
I've just quickly scrolled down. I've seen Passing about 4 or 5 times in the BAFTA long list.
Oh, that's awesome!
Rebecca Hall's British. Tessa Thompson's British. Ruth Negga is not British. She's like Australian or something.
She's Scottish, I believe.
Scottish?
Irish.
It makes sense that Passing would get in there because it's a lot of people. Even though it's a film about American people, it's got a lot of Brits and people from that part of the Great Britain in the production.
No, you're right. And I think Tessa Thompson's American. I'm pretty sure, isn't she?
Yeah.
I thought she was British.
I'm pretty
That's
sure.
I'll
'cause
look her up.
Look it up.
I
Well,
thought
this
she
is
she had a British accent.
this is the confirming of people's.
Tessa Thompson is American.
No,
All right.
she is
Never
American.
mind. Dang it.
And,
I don't know.
wait, and
Maybe
Ru-
she
is
played
Ruth
Brit.
is Ruth
That's-
is Ruth Nega? Is she Scottish or Irish? And I apologize to all people who I have possibly offended. She has an amazing speaking voice. If you ever listen to her voice,
Ruth Nega is Ethiopian Irish.
Irish.
Wow.
There we go.
That's
There we
weird.
go. Okay,
Yeah, 'cause I remember her in Preacher. I love her in Preacher. I watched the first few seasons of
Agreed.
Preacher. I knew she had an accent. I couldn't remember what it was.
Now, what I'm going to add mainly before we wrap this up for BAFTA is that this is where a lot of cool things could happen. Like, I can totally see them going for for supporting actress. Like, they could throw in a Jessie Buckley for The Lost Daughter, who made this long list. She could do that because they love Jessie Buckley. She got a BAFTA nomination before. Or they could do Catherine Hunter for The Tragedy of Macbeth because she's a very British performer. Or they could do a Daniel Craig for No Time to Die because he made it in last time for Casino Royale. So he has played a character before that's nominated. So just think about that.
Skyfall?
He didn't make it for Skyfall. Javier Bardem though made it into.
He was great in Skyfall.
He was amazing. So this could be a time for that to be pushed forward, for like some other performances that may not have made it into SAG. So that's just a thought,
No, it makes sense. Completely makes sense. That's why you can't get in too much of an uproar about what goes on with the SAG nominees. It did really, actually, they did pretty good last year, but less films to choose from last year. This year, it's going to be a little bit more difficult because there's so many more films to choose from. It may not correlate as well this year as it did last year. So we can't be getting in an uproar about the BAFTA because it could be some strange nominees.
No, it absolutely could be some really out of left field nominations. If we get anything like last year, because last year's BAFTA nominations was absolutely bonkers, and I really liked how out of left field it was. And I kind of hope it's maybe a little more mainstream, but also out of left field a little bit, because I like it when things are interesting and fresh,
Yeah, well, we had a different actress win Best Actress in all the things last year, so that made the Oscars interesting because you didn't know who was going to win it. But in the end, we kind of figured Frances McDormand would win.
Yeah, at the end, it kind of became by default after a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
But no, do you guys have any last minute thoughts for the BAFTA long list?
No, not really.
No. I mean, the other thing I'll say is like the other one I know is they got a few love, which I really hope gets some nominations because I don't think it's going to be loved by the Oscars. Is The French Dispatch? That's another one that came up quite a bit, which once again is it's not really a British movie because I don't know about Wes Anderson. I'm not going to look him up see if he's British or not because this will turn into a game like, is this person British?
Is this person are they British or American?
I actually like how Benicio del Toro got into the long list, and I believe right, Benicio del Toro. So that's weird to me. So I'm thinking to myself, I wonder if they're gonna give him a nod over there, over on the other side of the pond.
Possibly.
We over here, we're just kind of making old Benicio an afterthought. But I thought he was really good. I know Jeffrey Wright was good, but I kind of like Benicio the best out of all the main.
I honestly don't remember which one's Benicio. There's so many people in the French.
He was the painter.
Roback Wright. Was Jeffrey Wright, and then the prisoner that was the painter or whatever was Benicio del Toro, and then Chalamet was
a writer.
He was sent on a mission by Frances McDormand or something like that. I can't remember what it was. I have the Blu-ray. I got the Blu-ray and I haven't watched it since I watched it on my screening.
Okay. So right now, what I'm currently looking at as a recap for the BAFTA. We're going to get a long list. We're going to get that soon. So look for that once we get the nominations a little later. PGA next week will tell us a couple things. But I'm realizing after I talked, we're going to be having an episode before the PGAs, and we'll give our predictions during that episode this coming Sunday when we record, which we will be doing right in between a press conference for Sundance, followed by another movie that I'll be picking up out of Sundance, which is called Cha Cha Real Smooth. Which it's hard to explain upon that, but that's one of the ones that I'm really looking forward to seeing.
Is that the origins of the song Cha Cha Slide?
No, that's another thing in and of itself, which no. But yeah, we're gonna wrap up here. I wanted to make this a quick episode, because Dan has to go to work and Manning has to go get himself ready for bed because he is very tired from doing all that work. See, guys, I promise it'll be a quick episode as we recap these couple things before we get into the meat and potatoes of next week. Once we get into PGA nominations, I think DGA nominations are happening too. I'm not sure. We'll see. Malcolm, where can they find you?
Well, you can find me to the left on Take Food Productions, where I host Rankin every Saturday, and this week doing top 12 Disney Channel's Disney Channel TV shows. Or you can take it back now and find me on Full Metal Trivia.
I'm realizing what you're doing.
I was hoping so.
Very good. So now, Dan, can you cha-cha real smooth?
Well, no, not really. I'm a big fan of dancing of any kind, and I don't like going to weddings, so I definitely do not like that dance.
Cha-cha slide.
Yeah, I can't stand that dance at weddings. So, but you can find me at Disappointment Media, disappointmentmedia.com, where I write about all kinds of things. We're doing a Criterion series. I do anniversaries, like 20th anniversaries, 50th anniversaries. You know, we do retrospectives. If an actor dies, I'll review a film that actor's been in. I'll do TV shows. I do all kinds of reviews. Not a lot of movies, big name movies. I did review Scream for my other place that I review movies for, and that's my blog from thefourthrow.wordpress.com. So you can go read my review of Scream over there. But just social media, pretty much just Dan Skip Allen on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or DP Skip Allen or something like that on various social medias. I got a couple YouTube shows. I'm going to be appearing on some podcasts. I did one a couple weeks ago, Chasing Labels podcast, and I got one this week with our buddies Chad and Dylan. So I pop up here and there.
I mean, popping up here and there is what we do best here at Gone with Twin. But now I'm going to take it back now, y'all. And you can take it back to me here. Manning Franks. You find me on Twitter at Cine_man. That's CINE_MANN. As well as on Letterboxd at Manning_Franks. A little hard to get stuff on now because I haven't got a chance to watch many things. Because I'm going to be kind of starting tomorrow, I'm going to be plowing through at least one, maybe two movies a day after I get home from work, since we don't have 12-hour shifts anymore. And then I'll be like trying to review as many as I possibly can, one a day starting next week. I'm excited about that, and I can't wait to be able to get those to you on WFMY News 2's website, as well as on air every 4 p.m. Eastern on Channel 2 in Greensboro, North Carolina. Knock on wood that no other snow happens and derails all of that. But yeah, I'm excited to see what PGA and DGA has in store for us. But until then, you can find us also here on your Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, wherever you get your podcasts. You can find us there, rate and review us, and leave us a comment because we'd love to be able to read them. We're going to try to experiment now with a little more live shows because I really liked what we did last time. And I'm looking forward to seeing what we can do. We might try that this Sunday. We'll see how that goes. It might be easier for me with Sundance coming up, but you never know. Until then, thank you guys, and we will see you all at the movies. Take care.